Hey beautiful souls, welcome back to the Healing Empath. I am a healing empath, and today is going to be the last part of my series, The Struggles Empaths Face. And so far, we've already explored how empaths navigate the relationships, family, and friendships dynamic. But if you haven't watched those videos yet or listened to the videos furthermore, because it's faceless, go back to there, go look on my playlist, and you'll see the friendship dynamic, the family dynamic, and relationship dynamic. And then you could come back to this video. But before we get into this video, really quick, just make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're new here, turn on your notifications so you can get the future videos that I'm going to be dropping in the future. Okay, so today's video, I'm not going to make it too long. I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as possible. But today we are going to dive into a place where many of us, and I'm talking about many of us unhealed empaths, have quietly struggled, and that is the career dynamic. Okay, so it's going to be the struggles empaths face in career dynamic. Yay! This is really exciting to me because I know that many of you, when you do tap into this video, will probably be able to relate to this. Because being an empath in the workplace is a lot. If you don't know, now you know. And if we are in alignment, right? Or if we're in alignment at our jobs, it will be amazing, right? It will be beautiful. We will soar. We will do well. But when we're not in alignment, it is exhausting. Okay, guys. So let's get into today's video. I'm gonna go by sections because I did place some notes. So my first section, I labeled it as the team player. Now, before I get into this, I just want to explain what this video is going to be about. The struggles an empath face. This one is the career dynamic. Again, I did say I did the videos with relationships, with family and friendship. So again, please go look at it if you haven't, so you can understand where I'm going with this. But the team player nature is what empaths face as team players. And that's the section we're going to talk about now, because there's different roles that an unhealed empath will face. Now, if you are new here, I am not really specifically talking about a healed empath. I'm always talking about an unhealed or unhealthy empath in the majority of my videos. If I am going to be talking about a healed empath, you will know because I will state healed empath, right? Okay, so let's get into it. The first part is to just identify the nature of us at work, right? And we always show up with this team player energy, right? Because we're naturally team players. Empaths are natural team players. We love to help, we love to support, and we love to bring harmony everywhere we go. We're the ones that will stay late to help a coworker finish a project, or we'll volunteer to cover a shift or double check the details because we genuinely just care. So we'll spend a lot of time genuinely caring about the details and emails and just extra details and things, because we just want to make sure things are correct. Not that anyone else doesn't, right? We're talking about unhealed empath here. Okay, but here's the thing. Sometimes with that kindness, that overextending ourselves and dedication, we can attract the wrong kind of attention on the job, in the job force, right? And sometimes that also causes us to dim our own light, and we do that sometimes to keep the peace, or naturally when we shine, suddenly we may deal with unexpected competition or jealousy, or co-workers trying to one up us. And I'm going to say that again. We may dim our light to keep the peace when you're unhealed or unhealthy empath. And because naturally we do shine. And in the midst of that, when we're doing that, we end up getting unexpected competition, jealousy, or coworkers who try to one-up us. And this comes with us dimming our light, right? Okay, so section 2, which is part 2. The unhealed empath at work. All right, so this is us at the work environment. Let's talk about what happens when the empath is still unhealed or unhealthy, because that's where many of us are, and that's where many of us start. And again, I am an inspiring healing empath to become a healed empath. I identified and understood that I was an unhealthy empath this year, actually. And this led me to speak about this because I know so many other empaths that are unhealthy or unhealed would want to identify and understand this, because you may question so much that you go through in life and you don't understand why when you have just this good heart. And I'm here to explain it because I did a severe deep dive on myself and me being an unhealed empath. But anyway, the unhealed empath just wants to be seen. They want to be valued, just like in a family dynamic, just like in a relationship dynamic. And in the job market, they want to feel secure in their job. So sometimes an unhealed empath will end up working harder. We'll try to please everyone. And we often say yes, even when our spirit is screaming no. Say no in your head, but you're saying yes. Yes comes out. Or yes, okay, all right. We'll do something like that just because we don't want to push the needle all the time. And to an outsider, this can look like we're being a complete kiss ass. But it's really coming from fear of being fired, fear of not being liked, or fear of not being good enough. And, again, if you've seen other videos, then you'll realize that we have this fear, but it doesn't come out right. Like, it's not like stamped on our forehead, but it's in other ways, like subtle ways that you can tell that this is the way we fear things in that way, right? The fear of not being good enough. So these are the reasons why we do certain things, and then it'll look like, we're sucking up to the boss, or we're just trying to be goody two-shoes on the job, right? And that's not even true. That's really not the motive with us when we're doing this. Again, it's because we just want to do a good job. We want to be liked, and we want to, move up and level up at work. So sometimes we also overthink everything, right? And if we get critiqued harshly, because oftentimes we do, because, and when we get critiqued, it's usually because secretly other people may feel threatened, right? But then what happens is we end up taking it personally, right? So, for an example, we may get called out to management, right, over something really small, something tiny, right? And it's not a big deal. And then our coworkers or, colleagues may say the same thing, but they may get like a reminder about whatever it is. Like, just like maybe something like, hey, nothing serious. Like, you may get called out a little bit more harshly as an unhealed empath versus someone that, isn't an unhealed empath. And remember, energy, you can't see it, but it's definitely there, right? And what we attract. We also sometimes can get ignored in group settings, or spoken over in meetings, or excluded from important conversations, right? Sometimes a meeting may happen and then you're like, well, what happened? sent me an email, or I didn't get the notice on my calendar, and then you find out you were forgotten about, or maybe you just didn't need to be there, but you kind of did need to be there because it was like a whole it was for staff or something like that, right? So you have to get caught up to speed with a coworker, right? So okay, and then sometimes when it comes to management, they can play along. Management, it's not even just the coworkers. Now we step into the micromanaging. We get micromanaged more than others, or hold us to an unfairly high standard. I've been in situations where I've been micromanaged, and I'm showing up to work every day. I'm on time. I'm present. I'm capable. I'm excited to be there. I'm a team player. And then others that don't show up, they're a little rude when talking to people on in person or on the phone, or they don't know what they're really doing, so to speak, and they were left with the standard of not being pressed for micromanaging. But for some reason, the person that shows up all the time and is willing to do the work and is excited about working together in teams, they get micromanaged, which usually is an unhealed empath, right? We might be the go-to person that everyone trusts to train, right? And new hires or cleanup, right? So, for example, I remember being in a job years ago, and they hired a manager that didn't have the credentials that me and another coworker had. And she was a newbie, and she became a manager, but I was requested to train her, and it was just like, I'm going to train someone that doesn't have the credentials, and she doesn't know the job, and I'm very good at the job, and now I have to train someone, and I'm not even getting paid to train her. I'm getting my regular pay, but I'm not getting paid to train her. And when I say she knew nothing, she knew completely nothing on the job. So, again, when it's time for promotion, which I believe I deserved at that time, they end up hiring someone else. And sometimes it's really frustrating, it's draining, and it chips away at your self-esteem, because, you are showing up, you're putting in the work, and then you're told now you have to train someone that's going to be a manager, and they don't know anything. They have no experience with management. They are, maybe some nepotism happened, but still, it's just not right. So, when these things happen with an unhealed empath, there is this breaking point, right? So this is part 3, section 3 of the breaking point. And eventually, the pressure will build up, and we end up reaching a boiling point to where that moment when the unhealed empath, who's always been quiet or kind and, compliant, finally speaks up, we can end up start calling out the unfairness. We may confront the double standards at the job. At least I have. I mean, I've known other people too as well, because a lot of times people think because you're an unhealed empath or unhealthy empath that you are not capable of standing up for yourself, or, being assertive to your needs and wants. But that's not true. Again, that's really the trick, I guess, with us, because, we show up, we want to be a team player, we're always smiling, happy, but we do have another side to us that can be bold and outspoken, right? So we end up confronting these double standards, and that's when people look at us and say, wow, I didn't know that you had that in you, or, oh, wow, you've changed. Do you still love the job? The gaslighting, how that starts. But really, in reality, did we change? Absolutely not. We did not change. We just stopped accepting the mistreatment, and this boiling point, this boilage that, spilled over, is often our beginning in our own healing. Even if it was like this job I'm talking about happened many, many years ago in my 20s, and I'm already in my 40s now. But that was the catalyst to understand what I will not accept at a job, right? And realizing that we just can't keep portraying ourselves just to make someone else feel comfortable, I remember being asked, the same one I trained, and she asked me I was talking to a customer, and nothing was wrong with the customer and I was helping them, and she tried to come in to tell me to stop engaging with the customer, and I was confused because I was actually helping them and giving them a great deal of information, and she got upset because I didn't completely just walk away, and she tried to write me up saying that I'm aggressive and all these things, which were not true. And I refused to sign it. So she started insulting me. And then I started fighting back with her because I wasn't going to let her just talk to me any kind of way. Right? So that goes to yourself saying, I can't keep portraying myself to make other people feel comfortable and to, so they can feel like they're justified for the things that they're doing incorrect. But I gave her a verbal. And she was yelling and screaming at me and all this stuff, telling me that's what she let me talk to her. So she had a little daughter that came in. She was like 2 or 3. And the little baby was talking to me, and she was saying hi to me and stuff. And I was too. And me and this manager, the one I trained, had no problem. But she seemed to find a perfect reason to bring that up because she was trying to get me to sign a write-up that was not true. These are the things that I've experienced. If you are ever experienced something wild like that at your job, where you can identify what I'm saying, feel free to drop it in the comment. Okay, so now we are heading into part 4, which is the healed empath in the workplace. And now I'm going to talk about an empath and how they move through the workplace, but they're healed. They're not walking around with unhealed or unhealthy energy as empaths, okay? All right, so this shift here to the healed empath looks like their goal is to make sure that their worth, that they understand their worth and others do too, right? So a healed empath knows their worth, okay? These are some of the things that they're going to do. They understand that being kind doesn't mean being a doormat, right? They learn to say no without feeling guilty. And yes, only when it feels aligned, only when it makes sense. And it doesn't necessarily mean like a healed empath will not do something from the kindness of their heart and help out or stay late. I'm not saying those things. I'm just saying that they have more of a understanding to assert themselves in doing things that make sense for them. So they're not going to tell you, hey, yes, I'll take my work home and finish it over the weekend, because they're going to be going to maybe a family function and they're going to say, well, no, I'm not able to do that. I'm working overtime, or I'm going to this family function, or whatever it is. Excuse me. So their goal is to make sure that they're not being a doormat and that no one thinks that they're a doormat. That can, no one can play with them in that way. Okay? And they set boundaries by clearly communicating either verbally or through email what they can and cannot take on, and they stick to it. They're not breaking their boundaries. They're not doing it. They no longer feel responsible for everyone else's emotions. Everyone else's feelings, they're not responsible for. They separate that, and they know how to separate business from pleasure very well. When a manager or a coworker tries to micromanage a healed empath, will calmly redirect the situation. So if someone's coming to micromanage you, they may say, oh, okay, I appreciate your feedback, but I've got this under control, no worries. Or they can say something like, let's set clear expectations up front so I can deliver my best work without confusion, right? Because they don't want to absorb everyone's chaos. They maintain their peace and their professional energy. And they also delegate when needed. So they prioritize their self-care, and then they recognize when a workplace is no longer serving their highest good, right? So they'll leave. Okay? And then most importantly, a healed empath no longer seeks validation from the job, right? They bring value to it. Their confidence becomes quiet but unshakable, right? So they're not going in with this mindset of, oh, I hope I don't lose my job. I just want them to like me. I just want to do a good job. They're not overthinking every single thing, okay? So that's kind of like the difference in job placement. And I've gotten better. I believe that I am in a job now, more of a healed empath than I was years ago. Okay, so let's head on to the section 5, which is the healing takeaway. This is the last section, guys. I didn't make the video too long, see? But it's to the point and very informative. So, if you're an empath who's been called out unfairly and overlooked, or even severely micromanaged, just understand that you're not the only one. I also have been going through the same thing for many years, and understand that your energy is extremely powerful, okay? You just really simply haven't learned how to protect it in environments that weren't built for sensitivity. And healing doesn't mean you become cold or detached. It just means that you learn to love yourself enough to stop overgiving where your soul is starving, and to stop overthinking. And when you heal, you'll attract the right work environments, just like you'll attract the right friendships and the right lovers, right? Ones that are going to honor you, and they're going to be compassionate to you, and they're not going to exploit you. Okay, one that is going to support you. Okay. All right, so hold on, let me get this. Okay, so this video is almost coming to a wrap, and I just want to thank you to all my beautiful souls for spending this short time with me today. If this message has resonated about the struggles empaths face in the career dynamic, just take a moment to really reflect that, okay? And just to really zone in, think about where in your work life have you been dimming your light, if you have. If you haven't, you can ignore this, right? Or what boundary can you set today, right, to honor your energy? And if you're on this healing journey, make sure you take a few notes and just start with one thing at a time, right? You don't have to go into the situation where you feel like, oh, I'm going to do everything that the healed empath does. No, remain yourself, but also go in with understanding and take accountability. Hey, this is where I need to pull back my energy from this job, and this is what I need to do on how to collaborate with my coworkers and be in a good environment. How can I, work well with others? If people are looking at me weird because I'm kind and I want to do a good job, they think I'm being a kiss ass, right? So, it's just like, if you're on the healing journey, or for example, if you have a micromanager, you're going to go into work tomorrow and you have a micromanager on the loose, right? We don't take these things personally. This is part of the healing process. So when you see that, okay, I need a bit more healing because I'm attracting this energy on the job, and I need to be more assertive so everyone understands what I will not tolerate at work. Okay? Let me get a little bit of water. Okay. Before we close out, guys, please just make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications for future videos. This was really, to me, a short video. Here, I think that I'm really going to do a separate video on micromanaging and the empath, because I really find that to be a very important topic, what I've experienced in my life as an empath and understanding the micromanaging mindset. So I'm definitely going to look forward to that in the future. And again, if you're on a healing journey like myself, please make sure you like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe and turn your notifications on. Remember, your light was never meant to blend in. It was always meant to lead. Until next time, take care of your energy, empath, and keep shining. Keep being the best version of yourself.